In this video, we are going to be looking at tackling the unseen poetry question. We're going to begin with a poem that we've found, To a Daughter Leaving Home. And what we should always do when we look at this poetry question, rather than jumping straight in to look at everything in detail, we first of all need to read the poem to understand what it is about. To a Daughter Leaving Home. When I taught you, at 8, to ride a bicycle, loping along beside you as you wobbled away on 2 round wheels, my own mouth rounding in surprise when you pulled ahead down the curved path of the park, I kept waiting for the thud of your crash as I sprinted to catch up, while you grew smaller, more breakable with distance, pumping for your life, screaming with laughter, the hair flapping behind you like a handkerchief waving goodbye. So that was the reading of the poem, and we should now have a look at the question so that we can use our step-by-step approach to answering it in our essay-style answer. So the question here, in To a Daughter Leaving Home, how does the poet present the speaker's feelings about her daughter? Now that has given us a lot of information that we might not have been able to work out. It says that the poet is presenting the speaker's feelings about her daughter. So we know that the speaker in this poem is the mother of the daughter. So we're now going to use our step-by-step approach to start looking in a lot more detail at this poem. So step number 1, it's just popped up on your screen. Work out what the poem is about. Number 1, who is speaking? Is it in first, second, or third person? From the question, we already know that that is the mother speaking, and we can work this out in a little bit more detail because it says that when I taught you. So we are speaking in the first person here. Who are they speaking to? Now, in the title, it says it's speaking to the daughter and it's speaking to you. So we can tell from that it is the daughter. Now number 3 asks us, what are they speaking about? Now quite simply, if we reread the first couple of lines again, we'll be able to work that out really simply. When I taught you at 8 to ride a bicycle, loping along beside you as you wobbled away. So we can see that the person is teaching them to ride a bicycle. So now that is step 1 complete. So we're now going to have a look at step 2, working out the themes and the messages. This is the part where we're going to have a look in a little bit more detail and start to link our ideas to the question. Number 1, we need to reread the title of the poem, What Comes Into Your Mind? Now first of all, I've noticed that it says to a daughter and that she's leaving home. Now I would think that the fact that it says that it's to a daughter means that it is addressing the daughter. The fact that they're not using their name means that they're thinking more about the links of family than they are about the individual person. And the most important point is that this daughter is leaving home. Now it's not quite clear why this person is leaving home, but that is an important factor. Now we need to look at step number 2. We need to underline the key images in the poem and we need to think about, do these link to the title? The images I'm going to underline for you and to talk through might not be the images that you would find. This is an unseen poem and you need to remember that these are your ideas and you need to be confident in what you are finding. So the 2 images that I'm going to look at. Now the first one says that this mother's mouth rounds in surprise when she pulls ahead down the curved path of the park. So this daughter is on her bike and the mum is quite surprised when she's managing to do it all by herself. This girl is showing her mum that she's able to be independent and the mum is really surprised that this is her daughter that is doing this. Now the second point that I'd like us to look at is when the mother describes that her daughter is screaming with laughter. Now, when I read this, I thought that's a very unusual way to describe a daughter that's really excited and riding around on their bike. They're screaming, but their screams are full of laughter. Now, the fact that the mother is writing about this and addressing this to her daughter when she's leaving home is suggesting that the mother is thinking of the fond memory she has, and this fond memory is the moment when the daughter is laughing with the joy that she was doing something unexpected. What we now need to do is to link these ideas to the question. So the box has just popped up here in the green box, and the question is, to remind yourselves, in To a Daughter Leaving Home, how does the poet present the speaker's feelings about her daughter? Now it's important we've got to look at the poet's feelings towards her daughter, not about anything else. So from the little bits that we've looked at already, you might have already guessed that a few of the themes and messages from the poem. So first theme that I've noticed is that all of these are about memories. It's the mother remembering teaching her daughter to ride a bike at 8 years old. Another theme would be that it's about family. We've got a mother talking to her daughter about these memories. So that's a second theme. And a third, almost linking together theme, is the idea of joy and fear. We've got these two together. The mother is fearing the worst for her daughter, that she's going to be crashing, but the daughter is really enjoying the time that she's having learning to ride the bike and how she's able to impress and shock her mother. So now we're nearly there, we're on step 3. And this is when we're going to look in a lot more detail at the poem. This is where we can start to pick out details to do with structure, meaning, imagery, language, and how those all build up to create an effect. So first of all, you'll notice with structure that we've got one stanza, and you can see that all of the lines run into one another. Now this is an example of enjambment, and the lines are ongoing, they don't stop. So that's one point about structure done. Now moving on to meaning. Now with the meaning we need to have a think about what does the poet want us, the readers, to be thinking about. Now this could be different depending on how you view the poem, what your ideas are about the poem. But I personally think that the poem is about how families need to think about every moment and enjoy every moment they can have together so that you are able to look back on these memories with joy. Now we need to have a look at what imagery we can find in the poem. The image that I've picked out for us is a simile. The hair flapping behind you like a handkerchief waving goodbye. Now we need to find something to do with the language of the poem. Now an example that I've picked out for us is in the middle of the poem, I kept waiting for the thud. Now in this example, onomatopoeia is being used, and it's being used in the word thud because that's the noise of the crash that the mother is expecting to hear. So now we've picked out 4 different things that we could write about, but we haven't really thought about the effect. If we wrote about these now, our paragraphs wouldn't be really developed. It's always important that you do think about the effect that these devices have on the reader, so that's what we're going to do now. So if we look back at the points about structure that we made, enjambment is where the lines don't stop, they keep continuing over and over. Now we need to try and think, what is the effect this has on the reader as they read it? If we think of this point as a point that it could be symbolic, then we might think that the speaker in the poem is thinking about how they don't want their time with their daughter to end. They don't want their daughter to go. And as we know in the poem, the daughter is leaving home. Moving on to look at the meaning in the poem, our point was that the families should enjoy every moment together so that you can build lots of memories for when people move on. Now, trying to get us to think about this is going to make us question our own choices. So we now need to have a look at the impact and the effect that the simile has on the reader. So in this image, the simile suggests that the daughter's hair is looking like a handkerchief and that she's waving goodbye. This suggests that the child is already beginning to be independent. The mum has taught the girl to ride the bike, and the girl is able to tackle these corners and these high speeds, and they are succeeding. Now this might make the mother feel a little bit disappointed, because the mother is there to protect the daughter and to teach her how to do all of these tasks. So the mother is now starting to lose her purpose as the teacher and the protector of her daughter. This might make readers feel a bit sorry for the mother, because she's losing this purpose and she's already beginning to notice it even when the daughter is 8 years old. Now the last point that we need to look at is the use of onomatopoeia and how that makes us feel as a reader. So, onomatopoeia is used here to describe the sound that the mother expects to hear. Now, the mother is expecting to hear failure. She's expecting that. That tells us a lot about the type of mother that she is, that she's expecting her daughter to disappoint her. Now, all of her senses are expecting this. She's already described how she's surprised when she curves around the corner, but now she's expecting to hear a noise. Now, this might make us feel a little bit disappointed that the mother is expecting failure. And readers are going to want to be different to the speaker of the poem in their own life and their own relationships with families and friends. So that's step 3 completed. We'd looked at structure, meaning, imagery, language, and we've thought about the effects that all these devices are going to have on the reader. We're now on to the final step, step 4, where you explore your own personal response. Now, because you need to explore your own personal response, I'm not going to go through number 1 with you, because that would be how you personally feel about the poem and what your opinions are of the speaker and who the speaker is speaking to. What we are going to look at in the final section of this video is what mood is created from the poem. Now, I've picked out 4 different moods that I think you could write about. Those 4 moods are melancholy, that means feeling sad, fear, love, and pride. I'm now going to quickly show you how you can link these moods to the poem. Obviously, it would be different, the sort of mood that you pick out, depending on the poem that you've got and what meaning and what the poem is about. So, first of all, melancholy, feeling sad. The mother is feeling sad because the daughter's leaving home, and we know that the mother is remembering a fond memory. Fear is shown when the speaker expects to hear the thud and how she becomes more breakable the further away that she gets from her daughter. Love is shown by the fact that the mother wants to protect the daughter. And there is also the mood of pride when the mother is surprised and shocked that the daughter is able to perform these manoeuvres on the bicycle by herself without the protection of her mother. So this video has shown you how you can tackle the unseen perch question by using the 4-step approach and remembering to smile when you're looking for structure, meaning, imagery, language, and the effect.